Hey everybody, hey Roy.
Hi, Rabbi. How are you?
All right, Roy, I'm well, thanks. Okay, that does look like a virtual background, although I have no doubt that also resembles the shelf in your study.
That is correct.
Okay. Merle, how are
My history
you?
shelf.
I can't. Oh, there. Start video.
Hey Merle,
You
how are you
How are
today?
good?
Well,
All is good.
any major developments since last we saw each other last week?
Not that I know of.
More of the same.
We're looking for new shows to live stream because the shows we were watching are now done for the season. So
This is true.
Netflix has become our new best friend.
I know, and they're going to run out of content pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
I have
that's about it.
I'll make a quick plug for a Temple member show that we like a lot called Restaurant on the Edge. It's on Netflix.
Restaurant. Where is that on?
It's on Netflix. They just released the second season. The first season was like a month ago. And the premise, it's sort of like a hybrid of Anthony Bourdain's show Parts Unknown that was on CNN and some like Restaurant Impossible rehab show. And the premise is that if the restaurant has a great view, the food is probably awful. And they try to kind of fix that for places all over the world.
Having a lot of family in the restaurant business and what they're dealing with right now, that's probably a good show to watch.
It's unimaginable. Absolutely.
I have a daughter in the TV business, and her show you're not going to ever want to watch. There's no intelligence to it. The Masked Singer.
Oh, I've never watched that.
Anne, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, Nikki's a neighbor of mine.
And we are neighbors.
I know.
Small world.
It is.
We were on
everyone wonderful in the world lives in a circle. Eileen, how are you?
I'm good, Rabbi. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Some of our regulars, I think, either are late or not with us this morning, but we have a small but mighty group. Thank you all for taking a little bit of time this morning to be with us for what I know will be a wonderful conversation in which hopefully we'll get to learn a little bit about an organization that I sometimes think of as kind of a sleeper organization, which isn't a good thing, but more on that in a minute. I was thinking about the fact, as many of us probably saw several times in the last year or so, these statistics come out that roughly 40% of the population would struggle to come up with $400 for an unexpected expense. And I remember reading that a year or so ago and sort of thinking that was a staggering number, staggering statistic. And one that I had imagined most likely got worse in the face of this pandemic and crisis and nearing, as we had Mark Laranger from Chrysalis on last week talking about how we should all really prepare for the idea that we're going to have 20 to 30% unemployment for maybe the foreseeable future. Thinking that statistic has to have gotten worse, and was listening to Marketplace on NPR last week, and they recently did a sort of revised version of that poll that asked two questions. The first question they asked was what percentage of Americans would have a difficulty meeting in the face of this pandemic, meeting a $1,000 unexpected expense, and that number was 60%. 60% of Americans would have difficulty or struggled to come up with the money to face a $1,000 unexpected expense. And then they also asked how difficult it would be for folks to come up with $250 for an unexpected expense. And that number was 40%.
Wow.
Up or down, depending on how you think about it, from 40%, let's say a year ago, who would have struggled with $400. And I thought about that. And I thought, wow, that's just, for most of us who are lucky enough to feel like that, is thankfully not quite the predicament we're in, but that so many are in. And it underscored for me how, as we've discussed in many different areas over the past few weeks on this, in these sessions, that this crisis in so many different ways affects all of us, but exponentially affects those who were already struggling even more so. And in thinking about these numbers and thinking about, relatively small expenditures that are so challenging for folks, I thought about the amazing work that Jewish Free Loan does here in Los Angeles. And as I said a few minutes ago, I sometimes think of it as kind of a sleeper organization, because you sort of know about them or you don't. And many who know of them or have heard of them don't really know what they do. And so much of what they do really is about sort of helping folks who end up in these situations where they have relatively modest expenses that need to be covered that they need help with, and that's in large part what they're there to do. And so I'm really, really happy to have Nikki Seeger with us today, who's program supervisor at Jewish Free Loan. Full disclosure, they're a wonderful and dedicated collaborator at Karsh, and under normal circumstances are with us regularly, helping clients and really connecting folks. Again, many of our clients in Koreatown, Asian American, Pacific Islander clients, Latino clients, African American clients, Bangladeshi clients who probably have no idea, have never heard of Jewish Free Loan, but are thankful to be the recipient of their wonderful help and services. So, Nikki, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. And maybe let's start just for those of us who aren't as familiar, like the Google Earth view sort of Jewish Free Loan and what you guys do, and why you're so amazing.
Well, thank you for that introduction. So the Jewish Free Loan has been around for over 100 years. It started with donors locally, and we have satellite organizations in many different cities that we all do things a little bit differently, but it started with this idea of working, mostly within the Jewish community, of giving back, and this idea of self-sufficiency, of giving interest-free and fee-free loans. And what's special about the Jewish Free Loan of Los Angeles, as opposed to some of the other free loans across the country, is we will loan money to anyone. So regardless of your ethnicity, your gender, your religious affiliation, we don't care as long as you can qualify for a loan. So, that can be, we have four major kind of funds that we run. So we give loans for education. So that can be for everything from day school to children with special needs to college and graduate school. We also have been giving out to certificate programs most recently. Our second big fund is business. So we have business loans that normally, under normal circumstances, we give up to $36,000 for people starting small business loans or wanting to expand their business loan or moving into a new storefront. We do all kinds of different things. The third major piece is emergency loans. So again, under normal circumstances, we give up to $10,000 to anyone who qualifies, who might be facing either a medical emergency, or they need a new car to get to work, or even just, those deposits and rent and moving expenses that, like you said, so many people, while they have money to pay for the here and now, cannot afford, a deposit or an emergency expense on top of that. And then the fourth major category for us is Jewish continuity. So we give loans to people for bar and bat mitzvah celebrations, for IVF, and all kinds of things that are considered under that, of creating Jewish community. And then there are a million things, because all of this is driven by donors for the most part, that often will find a need, but our donors will come back to us and say, I really want to give money to make sure that a student facing homelessness is not worried about living in their car, and they'll support a fund. I have great students who have really been able to move into housing because we've provided them with funds. Typically, our fund that, before COVID-19, I'm going to say all of this, there's a before and an after. The way it worked was if you had a steady income, and were not in severe debt, and could find a guarantor. So, there were different levels of guarantor, and essentially that's a cosigner. We could give you up to $10, $15, $36,000, depending on what kind of loan it was, to pay off whatever it was, or what expense or surgery or, graduate school or whatever you were facing. The payments are usually between 24 and 48 months. And it's all done very seamlessly. Our clients would come in for an interview, and 7, 10, 15 days later, they would have a check. Unfortunately, we've really been spun around with COVID-19 because, first of all, with the shelter in place, things have changed. And second of all, we are facing and seeing a lot of the people that, Rabbi Shapiro, you were talking about, who normally wouldn't qualify for a loan. So I think I touched on many different things. Do you want to give another? We keep going with the questions you asked?
No, keep going.
Okay, keep going. Okay, so so on March 16th, the Federation, where our offices are in the Federation, we have satellite offices in Karsh, El Centro de Ayuda, which is in Boyle Heights. And we often work with Jewish Family Services, SOVA, and a great community center in Pico Union called Magnolia, which we have kiosks in all those places. And we often would have loan analysts go in. And then we had our offices in the Federation. And then we have one loan analyst who works in Tarzana. And all of us are in shelter in place and working from home. So the wonderful thing that worked for us is we had been doing some Skype interviews before that, because not everybody can come in for an interview during business hours. So that actually has been very helpful to us, because we've been able to continue all the work we're doing. The difference is, as opposed to getting your paperwork in the mail, or we're now working, everything is online, and we're moving to DocuSign. So, if you've ever applied, for a loan with a bank, or you've rented something, or you have a car lease, or even a mortgage, a lot of it is now done online. So that's been really terrific for us, because it allows us to continue doing the important work we do. The big difference for us, and Rabbi Shapiro, you had asked this question about what kinds of clients are we seeing. So typically we have two clients that we see. We see people who are working and doing their thing and doing just fine, but they can't afford a $55,000 tuition for their child to go to college, or they have to move very quickly to transition their father into a care facility. And so they just don't have that cash available to pay those fees. So, those are some of our big loans. Businesses work a little bit differently as well, because those are usually people in successful businesses or trying to start a new idea. And then we have this third piece of people who have always been living on the edge, but were the working poor, right? And the key word there is working, that they didn't have any savings, that they managed to get by day to day. It's that emergency situation that they can't handle. Now, we're seeing all kinds of people that, if you had asked them March 1st, if in a million years, would they ever have problems paying their mortgage, or would worry about a car repair, or how to fly their daughter home from college, they would have told you never in a million years. But we have actors and actresses who are out of work. We have people whose businesses have literally fallen apart overnight and are not making an income. And so that's not just the working poor. That's middle class, that's upper middle class. And in some cases, we've seen some, what under normal circumstances would be wealthy clients who just happen to be cash poor, right? And so they're just unable to pay their bills. So we've been offering $3,500 emergency loans. We have a grant program on top of that. So luckily for us, we have wonderful donors. And so, we have a lot of people who no longer fit that profile of a steady income. So when they come to us and they say, but I don't have an income, but I have a guarantor, or I don't have an income and I don't have a guarantor, we've been able to offer grants, and we've been able to offer $1,000 emergency loans. And we also have grocery funds. So if we're talking to someone who literally does not know how they're going to buy diapers tomorrow or milk in the refrigerator. We've been sending them gift cards to Albertsons and Vons. And then on top of all that, we have all these people who are really looking at life in a different way. So we've been inundated with IVF loans. We've been inundated with adoption loans. We've been inundated with, those Jewish continuity pieces that people, maybe a year ago thought they're not quite ready to have a family. And now, given the situation we're all in, are thinking, there's not ever going to be a good time and I should move forward on this. So we're really, I think that we've really been able to help quite a number of people. Typically, we see about 100 loans quarterly that, actually go through and process, and we're seeing more like 100 loans a month. So that's everything from our emergency grants for our car clients and people, who are undocumented and, or busboys or people that really cannot apply for benefits, to people who are just waiting on their unemployment, or unfortunately, we just gave a business loan to a dentist who she's going to be fine and she'll recover from this, but she has 3 employees that after this month, she doesn't have any money to pay them. And so she just got a loan from us so that she can pay them through the end of June for the time being, hoping that her government loan will actually come in. And she's got, a bridge loan in between to make sure that her 3 employees get paid. So that's a little bit about what we're doing. It's been really, for me, it's been kind of the silver lining in all of this, because I'm really proud of the work we're doing. And I think we're helping so many different people. And we're really, as opposed to a lot of nonprofits, we're really feeling, that the world is stagnant and there's not much they can do. We're on the phone all day long helping people and helping organizations and institutions and talking through, with people who really are feeling down and depressed and that they don't feel like they have any other place to go. So it's been, I'm really, really proud of the Jewish Relearn right now.
Wow. As you should be. And I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. Have you, think about how to word this correctly. Have you observed, it's clear that you've expanded in a way, I guess is the right word, the funding model and eligibility for loans and programs in the wake of this crisis to try to meet people where they are. Have you noticed a different profile, let's say, of the folks who are coming to see you, folks who, 3 months ago, would have never come to you for a loan?
Right.
Or
So
never imagined that they would.
Sure. I don't think it's so much that we're seeing different clients. We're seeing, that, we would have seen a dentist or a doctor or a consultant applying to get an education loan for their child or applying for a business loan. And now we're seeing them apply for emergency loans, right? So it's that, they're coming to us for a different resource than they may have looked at us before. And then, the sad thing is that we're one of the things we've been talking a lot with our funders about is, how, that because this is a loan as opposed to a grant fund, we still have some basic qualifications, and we have a lot of those people that used to be considered working poor who no longer meet our qualifications. So we're really trying to figure out, are there ways we can help them? So the Jewish Federation actually has given us an unbelievable amount of support, and we basically now can give to anyone who's Jewish without a guarantor. That they're acting as the guarantor. So we still are asking them to come with a guarantor, but they don't, the guarantor has to have steady income and good credit themselves. And, if you talk to clients, one of the things they're most, I think, frustrated about in the process is that, often people have a colleague, a mentor, a parent, a friend, a sibling who is willing to co-sign for them. But it's not just that there's so many other people who are going through, economic instability themselves who are not willing to co-sign it. So we have a lot of clients who don't want to ask someone to co-sign because they feel like, maybe they have an income today, but I can't get what happens if they've co-signed on my loan and they lose their job or income in November, right? Because our
Right.
loan terms are usually 24 to 36 months. So that's been a lot of the conversations among our team of, what kind of flexibility we can have in that. And we are being flexible. But the more important piece is that we have donors who are now acting as guarantors. So they're putting out, we have one wonderful donor who basically said, here's $50,000 and use it, feel like you can be more, less risk adverse, right? And to accepting a client who you're worried isn't going to be able to pay back the loan because now you have this money. So for us, that's been really magnificent to think through, clients that are really in need that we could help if we could deposit that money in their account tomorrow, but under normal circumstances wouldn't meet the needs and the qualifications.
So you mentioned that federation contribution,
Yeah.
and you said I think to be able to fund any Jewish client without a guarantor. So let's talk about the Jewish piece for a second.
Sure.
Right. So it's in the name, and I have some questions about that. And are there challenges, is maybe the right word, that are created just by the name, which is, I think, in some ways, right, a relic of a century ago.
Right.
If you were naming the organization today, you might not pick that. And two,
right.
The federation money came with certain parameters in terms of Jews, but just to be clear, right, you guys help anybody. You don't have to be Jewish to seek funding, right?
Correct. We help anyone, but we can often, because we have more money coming towards Jewish clients, take a little bit bigger of a risk with, maybe, if they're a non-Jewish client and they ask for $4,000, maybe we say, okay, let's give them $1,500 or $2,000. And with a Jewish client, because we have this federation money and we have other donors, we can say, we're willing to take the risk for the whole three. Now, the one thing that we worked really hard at is asking those questions, because it's awkward to say that, you go back to the important question of what makes a Jew, who is a Jew. Right. So, we have a lot of clients who will say, my husband's Jewish, and, okay, that's a Jewish couple for, and we're not asking the halakhic question, right? So
to be clear, these parameters are not, in terms of, okay, we'll give more potentially, or we'll take a bigger risk on a Jewish family potentially. That's not a function of today's mission of the organization. It sounds like that's a function of donor dollars that come with those streams. So I'm a donor, I give you $100,000, right? And I'm a donor, I give you $100,000, and that is, I say, look, it's really important to me as a donor that you're helping Jewish families.
Correct. But we know that we have donors who also, this isn't important to at all. I got more funds, the donor who gave us funds to help homeless youth and form emancipated foster youth came back to us and said, what's happening to all those kids? And so we reached out to all of those loans we've given out and said, okay, you were making an income as a student before, but those jobs were selling Red Bull at a concert, or giving out paraphernalia at a concert, working at Staples Center, working as a waitress. None of them have an income right now. So, he gave them, sent meals and grocery money to every single one of them, right? And there's no question of, are they Jewish or not, right? It was just because his interest is, keeping them from being homeless or hungry, right? And it didn't matter what kind, what their ethnic or religious background was. So, the federation, I bring up the federation only because I'm talking to a synagogue, but, we have other loans that we've been able to use for non-Jews as well.
Got it.
Loan funds, right?
Right. And also, just to clarify, tell us what free means. Free means free. Free means interest free.
Free means interest free and fee free. So, if you borrow $3,000, you pay $3,000 back. There's no additional fees. There's no interest on that loan. And, often our clients, especially our clients from Karsh and from, El Centro, don't even sometimes have to pay that much money back because, in between all of our donors, we'll get these angel funds who will say, can you tell me, 10 clients who paid back their money, and are just terrific stories, and we changed their lives and we kept them from being homeless. And then they say, okay, I'm going to be the angel donor and I'm going to pay off the rest of their loan, right?
Mm.
So it's really, so we joke of what would you do, if you had $10 million to spend, and we have donors who really feel like they want to give it back and pay back, whatever their struggles were, that they want to pay it forward. And so, we have $12 million in circulation and 99% of our loans get paid back in full. It takes a little bit longer than we anticipated. Sometimes we have to call and make other payment arrangements, but the majority of our clients, whether that's a busboy or a doctor, pay back their loans. So, every penny that comes back to us gets recirculated out to the community. And then on top of that, we have all these wonderful donors and grants, and we're always applying for grants and always reaching new donors. And so, what circulates consistently, is that we're really able to spread kind of our wings into multiple different communities. And, whether that's, we, at the beginning of this crisis, we had 82 applications from Korean Americans, and we did not have any idea where that came from. But we had a organization that we had worked with in Koreatown once upon a time, and they put information as a resource in one of their Korean newspapers, and that came back to us, right? So, we see all different kinds of people, and we try to really help everybody who calls us.
So beyond the fact that it's, free money, right? Are there other reasons, or what are the other reasons, maybe is a better way to ask, that I'm coming to you and not to, a bank or a credit union?
Right. So there's no interest and there's no fees. And our, at the end of the day, we're still a social services organization. So our goal is not to send anyone to collections. A bank might have different terms. Now,
Right.
Again, we don't tell our clients, they're still signing on the dotted line that this is a loan and they owe, and it will eventually, if they don't pay the loan, it eventually does go to collections and onto a credit report. But we do really our best to make arrangements with each of our clients. It's a constant conversation. Anytime we interview a client, we tell them, if anything changes in your life and you have a hard time paying off this loan, please be in touch with us, right? Because we can make, it's not something I'm going to say that happens consistently, but especially under the circumstances that we're all living in, our main goal at the end of the day is to service our clients. And so, a bank or credit union may say that, but, at the end of the day, they're a business. And while we function as a business, at the heart of our organization, we're a nonprofit.
So do you also have clients who, you'll lend money to that the bank never would, or clients who are unbanked, or, are folks coming to you as a last resort?
That's a case by case situation. Again, we really do our best to help everybody, but yes, there are people that we can't help. So, I don't always know what a bank is willing, if a bank is willing to take more risk than we would. But I will tell you that, again, we do our best. If a client comes to us and is asking for money that, and when you look at what it is they do, and we try not to make any judgments about their spending habits, but, sometimes we can say to them, you can't really afford this much, but we could maybe give you, a lower, loan amount, or do it under other terms. Or we sometimes will spin it and say, okay, we can't help you with this kind of loan, but are there other expenses or other things you can think of? So again, that's the social services piece of this, is always thinking about, at the end of the day, you want to help a client. Like, I hate getting off the phone at this point with a client that, who we ended the conversation and there was nothing I could do for them. So, you know, I do my best, and all of the loan analysts in my office do their best at the end of the day to try to help the client and create a situation where, you know, we're creating either giving them something or, you know, thinking through the loan in a different way. And I'm not really sure if banks do that.
Not often enough if they do, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, given this sort of new reality that we're all living in and functioning in, what are the biggest challenges that you guys are facing, organizationally or just from a client service perspective?
Right. Well,
Beyond money.
Sure. Well, you know, the first thing is we are a small nonprofit, right? You know, of the, you know, we're just a dozen people, and, you know, there are 5 of us who work on, you know, directly with clients on loans. You know, I have a program assistant, and then I have 4 other loan analysts, including myself. And, you know, we speak Spanish, we speak Farsi, we speak Hebrew. You know, and we try to be, you know, involved in many different communities, but at the end of the day, not everybody's full time. So some of it is just timing, right? And I think people sometimes are under the misunderstanding that we work like the federal government, right? That, you know, we have endless supplies of money and endless supplies of time. So you know, that's why we're really, really grateful to our donors and funders who really stepped up most recently to help us, because we've been inundated with applications. You know, so we, you know, always are looking, you know, if anyone is out there who has a particular soft spot and would like to see the money, the stories are really incredible. We have a woman who, you know, was about to be homeless with 2 kids. And we were able to help her move into an apartment, and she's still there, right? She just needed that extra little deposit. But, you know, that $1,200 we gave her for a deposit so she could move into a safe neighborhood and a safe apartment was life changing for this woman, right? You know, we help. I helped earlier this year, emancipated foster youth who was living in her car, you know, and had a guardian scholarship from Cal State Dominguez Hills, and she was able to find housing, right? And those are things that those 2 women would never have been able to do without a little extra help from us. You know, and we also help people expand and do wonderful things with their business. We help, you know, graduate students. You know, we have a graduate student who that we have a client who we helped go to graduate school, and 10 years later, he's now a big donor, right? And so you know, I think that if you are looking to give money to an organization that you know makes a real difference, we have thousands of stories where we've made a real difference in people's lives and individual lives, and then the ripple effect from that has just been incredible.
2 more quick questions, and then I'm going to open it up. Gary, I know you've got a hand up. One, you said that, you know, you've been inundated with requests. Can you just, you know, anecdotally give us any sort of measure of the percentage increase in demand in the last, you know, 2 months?
So it mostly depends on the day, but I would say, you know, since the beginning, we're probably seeing, you know, double the number of applications for emergencies, and probably quadruple or quintuple the numbers for business.
Wow. Well, that's, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Last but not least, how did you end up, you know, in this work?
So I have always been, I've worked for the Jewish community for a long time, and I also speak Spanish. And so the executive director needed somebody actually to help out at Karsh and at Magnolia, and she needed a Spanish speaker. And so initially I started about 1.5 years ago with a few hours a week of interviewing and doing intake for Spanish clients, and mostly the reason we have those centers is because we realize that those are a lot of our clients who don't have easy access to an internet connection. And so filling out a pre-loan application online is often a really large stumbling block for them. And so by having, open air kiosks where they can actually bring all their paperwork and talk to a loan analyst, and then we help them fill out the application online, has really been helpful. So I did that a couple hours a week. And then our executive director asked if I'd be interested in coming on full time. And so here I am. But I've worked at Hillel, lots of Jewish Israeli organizations. And so but this has been, for me, I really, our team is wonderful. And it's really, that it can be exhausting. And honestly, some of the stories we're hearing are so devastating. And I feel so lucky that I have a job at all.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I feel like I've been talking and talking and talking.
No, not at all. And as I say almost every week, like I could sit here and ask questions, until dinner time, but I know others have them as well. So Gary, I'm going to unmute you because I know you've got a question, and then others can keep thinking. All right, Gary, go ahead.
Two quick questions.
Sure.
I'm on the board of Hillel 818 at Northridge and also Pierce and Valley College. We have a lot of students that are on the edge right now. A couple that are on the edge of homelessness. We provide food for them, but can we promote your services to them directly? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, sure. I can, well, first of all, if you go to our Jewish Free Loan website, so it's www.jfla.org, and I'll send this to Rabbi Shapiro. You absolutely can. So we have our emergency loans that they can, anyone can apply for. And then there are certain funds for students and students facing homelessness. So, if you want, I can pass information on to you, you can pass it on to the directors at those Hillels, and, they can either pass it on as referrals and we'll contact students directly, or they can pass it out to students. But yes,
okay,
we'd be happy
great.
to share that information.
Great. I have a board meeting tonight. That's good information for me. Second question is, if someone wants to become a funder, what is the minimum amount of money that a funder needs to do with you to start a relationship?
So that's a really good question, and probably a better question for development.
I'm going to out Gary as a development professional.
I don't know if I have the right answers for that, or I'd be comfortable answering that. But perfectly happy to put you in touch with our director of development, Sarah Robide, and she would be very happy to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody else, questions, comments, reactions?
Rabbi?
Yes, Eileen.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how a client would find out about the availability of the service.
Yeah, how do clients find you?
Right. So a lot, we are on, we have a marketing team. So, if you walk into Karsh, if you walk into a lot of social services organizations around Los Angeles, because we are open to any permanent resident of LA and Ventura County, dentist office, what have you, there are flyers. So that's one way. We do post on social media. So we have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, and we are often, probably once a week, there's a constant comment that goes out to thousands and thousands of people. So we have one that's specifically for Jewish professionals that probably includes Hillel directors and JCC directors and day school teachers. We have our donors, and then if you go on our website, often people will find us, either they Google or they call 211, or they've talked to a social services organization. So we have people, at the VA, we have people at UCLA and the law school, we have people, that find us in all different ways. And a lot of it is that sometimes someone has have been a guarantor on someone else's loan, and now they're coming for themselves, or they recommend it to a family friend. And then a lot of our clients have had such wonderful experiences that they pass it on to the people around them. So one of our donors, he is a third generation client and now a donor, that his grandfather got a loan to start a business, and then his mother got a loan for something else, and then he got a loan for school, and now he's a donor.
Thank you.
No problem.
Tony, I'll unmute you.
Thank you. Thank you
Nice
for
to see you.
nice to see all of you. Thank you. First of all, what an amazing organization you are, and thank you for all you provide to our community, especially in times like this, and especially at Karsh. And I joined a little bit late, so pardon my question. I'm not sure if you said what percentage of applications do get funded.
So that is, we have an online application process. I would say, unfortunately, there's a good percentage of people who put on an online application who don't really understand the loan process. And so, but at the end of every month, I'd say we process between 60 and 100 loans that are, actually of people who've, completely finished the process and have gotten money from us. And the reason that varies so much is, we have open enrollment periods for students. So right now we're in an open enrollment period for students, and that those loans won't be given out till June and July, right? So we get huge amounts of student loans. The business loans we're probably giving out at this point a couple a week. And normally our business loan process is maybe 4 or 5 times a year. So people wait, much longer. The process for a business loan is much more intricate. And so people wait, a number of weeks to get an answer. Whereas because so many people are in emergency situations, we've really stepped it up. And so we're able to process a couple loans a week. And then currently for emergency loans, we're processing every single week. As opposed to every other week. So, on this past Thursday, we probably gave out, a dozen loans and then another dozen grants. And then, all day long, I give out grocery money.
Thank you. One more question.
Sure.
Did you say that you need people to read applications to help?
No, but thank you.
Okay.
Merle, I'll unmute. There you go. You got it.
So when you give out a grant, I understand the donation part, helping people by giving them loans. But what's involved with getting a grant, and how do you, what do people have to do in order to use the grant money?
So the grants are mostly for our clients at Karsh and Magnolia, because they, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't necessarily be able to help them because they can't qualify for a loan, because if you don't have a steady income and you don't have a guarantor, right? So we've created this fund to really help people that are literally living on the edge. And a lot of that money is for groceries, right? Because if a client tells us that they don't know if they can buy diapers or milk, and that they've missed, I know Karsh had a diaper drive, and, there are all these wonderful organizations, and SOVA and the Salvation Army, and, lots of people are doing it. But for the time being, and this may not be something that we continue with, but temporarily, the idea is that no client, that we interview walks away empty-handed.
Great, thank you.
But the majority of people are still getting, that are still applying for straight up loans. So.
Right.
Anybody else? Well, Nikki, thank you for being so generous with your time. Thank you for the incredible work
Yeah, it's my
you guys
pleasure.
do.
I hope that was helpful and interesting.
Absolutely. And most importantly, thank you for
you.
doing it at Karsh.
Yes.
No, our pleasure. Well, thank you for your time. And this has been very lovely. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you, you
you.
too.
Thank you.